The question that makes most people uncomfortable. Imagine this. Two people walk into the same bank. Both leave with a loan worth $1 million. A few years later, one of them has become dramatically wealthier. The other is drowning in financial stress. Same bank, same amount of debt, completely different outcome. So here's the question. If debt is so dangerous, why do some of the wealthiest people in the world willingly use it? Why do successful business owners borrow money? Why do experienced real estate investors finance properties? Why do large companies issue debt even when they already have billions in cash? And perhaps the biggest question of all, why are ordinary people taught that debt is always bad, while many wealthy people quietly use it to build even more wealth? At first glance, it sounds like a contradiction. We've all heard the advice, stay out of debt, pay cash whenever possible, never owe anyone money. It sounds responsible, it sounds safe, and in many situations, it actually is. If you're borrowing money to buy things that lose value, debt can quietly destroy your future. Credit card balances, luxury cars, expensive vacations, designer lifestyles. Those kinds of debt often make someone look richer while making them financially weaker. But here's where the story changes. Not all debt works the same way, and that's a distinction very few people are ever taught. Imagine a hammer. In the hands of a skilled builder, it creates homes. In the hands of someone careless, it can cause serious damage. The hammer isn't good or bad, it depends on how it's used. Debt works in much the same way. To some people, it's a trap. To others, it's a tool. The problem isn't the debt itself. The problem is understanding the difference. And that difference begins inside the human mind. Because before money is ever invested, before any loan is ever signed, before any financial decision is made, psychology comes first. Fear, confidence, patience, impulse. All of these shape financial outcomes far more than most people realize. That's why two people can have the exact same opportunity and create completely different lives. One sees risk everywhere, the other sees calculated opportunity. One avoids every loan, the other studies every loan carefully before deciding. Notice something important. The wealthy don't automatically love debt. They love leverage. They love using resources wisely. And sometimes debt becomes one of those resources. But sometimes it becomes a financial disaster. The secret is knowing the difference. Because the world's wealthiest investors aren't asking, how much can I borrow? They're asking, what will this money help me build? That single question changes everything. In the next part, we'll uncover the psychological reason most people fear debt, and why that fear, while understandable, can sometimes become one of the biggest obstacles to building long-term wealth.
Why your brain hates debt. Let's go deeper, because this isn't really about money, it's about your brain. Think back to your childhood. What did you hear about debt? Maybe your parents said, never borrow money, or debt will ruin your life. Maybe someone close to you struggled with loans. Maybe they lost their house. Maybe they spent years paying interest. Those experiences leave a mark, even if they didn't happen to you. Psychologists call this emotional conditioning. Your brain learns from painful experiences, sometimes your own, sometimes other people's. Over time, those experiences become beliefs, and beliefs become automatic decisions. Here's the interesting part. Your brain doesn't ask, is this debt good or bad? It asks, does this feel dangerous? Those are two different questions. Your emotions answer first, logic comes later. That's why two people can see the same opportunity and react completely differently. One sees possibility, the other sees danger. Neither person is stupid, they're simply following different mental programming. Now imagine this. A bank offers two different loans. The first loan helps someone buy a luxury sports car. The second loan helps someone buy a profitable business. Both loans create debt, but the outcome is completely different. The sports car starts losing value immediately. The business starts producing income. One takes money from your pocket, the other has the potential to put money into your pocket. The debt didn't create the result, the decision did. This is where wealthy people think differently. They don't ask, is this debt scary? They ask, what is this debt buying? That single question changes everything. Because debt is only a tool, just like a knife. A surgeon uses a knife to save lives. A criminal uses the same knife to hurt people. The tool never changed, the person did. Debt works the same way. Bad debt usually buys consumption. Good debt is often used to acquire productive assets. Assets that earn more than they cost. Assets that continue producing income. Assets that grow over time. Notice something. The wealthy aren't addicted to borrowing. They're addicted to buying productive assets. If borrowing helps them do that, they'll consider it. If it doesn't, they walk away. No emotion, no ego, just numbers. That's a huge difference. Most people buy first, then worry about the payments. Wealthy people study the cash flow first. Only then do they decide. That simple habit protects them from many financial mistakes. And here's something most people never realize. Fear feels safe, but sometimes fear quietly becomes expensive. Because every opportunity you avoid has a cost. Every investment you never make has a future you never experience. Of course, that doesn't mean you should borrow recklessly. Far from it. Smart investors respect risk. They calculate it. They prepare for it. They never assume success is guaranteed. That's exactly why many wealthy people survive difficult times. They don't gamble, they plan. And planning changes everything. But if wealthy people don't fear debt, what do they fear? The answer might surprise you, because it has almost nothing to do with money and everything to do with control.
The real reason rich people borrow. Now, let's answer the big question. If wealthy people don't love debt, why do they keep using it? The answer is simple. They value control, not ownership. That sounds strange, so let me explain. Imagine you have $1 million. You could spend every dollar buying one apartment. Now all your money is locked. You own one property, but you have almost no cash left. Now imagine another investor. He also has $1 million. But instead of paying everything in cash, he uses part of it as down payments. He finances the rest. Now he controls several properties. He still has cash available, and his money keeps working. Notice the difference. The first investor owns more. The second investor controls more. And in business, control is often more valuable than ownership. This idea is called leverage. Leverage simply means using resources wisely. Sometimes that's money, sometimes it's time, sometimes it's technology, sometimes it's other people's skills. The wealthy are obsessed with leverage because they know one person can only work so many hours, but assets can work all day, businesses can work all day, investments can work all day. That's why they don't just ask, "Can I afford this?" They ask, "Can this investment pay for itself?" That question changes everything. Imagine buying a rental property. Every month, the tenant pays rent. That rent covers the loan, it covers the expenses, and over time, it may even leave extra income. In that situation, who is really paying the debt? You or the asset? That's the way many wealthy investors think. They don't want their salary paying the loan, they want the investment paying the loan. Now compare that with buying an expensive car. The car doesn't earn money, it loses value. Every month you make the payment. Insurance costs money, fuel costs money, repairs cost money. Nothing comes back. That's why the same debt creates two different futures. One debt builds an asset, the other funds a lifestyle. The wealthy understand this difference and they protect it. But here's something important. Leverage is powerful. Powerful tools require discipline. A small mistake becomes bigger. A good investment grows faster. A bad investment also grows faster. That's why successful investors spend so much time researching. They don't rush. They don't buy because everyone else is buying. They study the numbers. They calculate the risks. Then they act. Most people do the opposite. They get excited first. They calculate later. And emotions are expensive financial advisors. Here's another interesting fact. Many wealthy people could pay cash, but they choose not to. Not because they can't, because they want their cash available for the next opportunity. To them, cash is like ammunition. Once you spend it all, you lose flexibility, and flexibility creates opportunity. That's why the rich don't worship debt. They worship smart decisions. Debt is only useful when it helps produce more value than it costs. If it doesn't, they walk away, no matter how attractive it looks. In the next part, we'll uncover the biggest mistake ordinary people make with debt. It's so common that millions of people repeat it every single day without even realizing it.
The debt trap most people never escape. Now let's talk about the biggest mistake. The mistake isn't borrowing money. The mistake is borrowing for the wrong reason. Look around. Most people don't borrow to build wealth. They borrow to upgrade their lifestyle. A bigger TV, a newer phone, a luxury car, designer clothes, a vacation they can't really afford. For a few days, it feels amazing. Then the bills arrive, month after month, year after year, and suddenly tomorrow's income is paying for yesterday's excitement. That's the trap. The purchase is temporary, the payment is permanent. Now imagine another person. Instead of borrowing for status, they borrow to buy a small business or a rental property or equipment that helps them earn more money. Every month, that investment produces income. The debt slowly disappears, but the asset remains. Do you see the difference? One person borrowed to impress people. The other borrowed to improve their future. Same bank, same loan, different mindset. This is where psychology becomes dangerous. Humans love instant rewards. Our brains are wired that way. Scientists call it present bias. It means we naturally value today's pleasure more than tomorrow's freedom.
That's why saving feels difficult. That's why investing feels slow. And that's why buying something new feels exciting. Your brain gets a reward immediately, but there's a hidden cost. Every monthly payment steals a little freedom. At first, it doesn't feel like much. Then another payment appears, then another. Soon, most of your income already has a destination before you even receive it. That's why so many high-income earners still feel broke. They earn more, but they owe even more. Their salary grows, their freedom doesn't. Now compare that with wealthy investors. They ask a different question. If I borrow this money, will it create more income than the payment? If the answer is no, they usually walk away. It's not emotional, it's mathematical. Here's a simple example. Imagine two friends receive approval for the exact same loan. The first buys a luxury SUV. The second buys equipment that doubles his business income. 5 years later, the SUV is worth much less. The business is worth much more. The loan looked identical. The outcome wasn't. This is why successful investors don't judge debt. They judge what the debt is buying. Because debt never changes your future. Your decisions do. And here's something almost nobody talks about. Banks don't become wealthy because people borrow wisely. Banks become wealthy because millions of people borrow emotionally. Emotion is expensive. Logic is profitable. The wealthy know that. That's why they slow down before making financial decisions. They ask questions. They run the numbers. They imagine the worst-case scenario. Only then do they move forward. And that simple habit protects them from mistakes that destroy wealth. But there is one psychological trap even smarter than emotion. A trap so powerful that keeps millions of intelligent people working their entire lives without ever realizing they're trapped. And that's exactly what we'll uncover next.
Now let's talk about a prison. A prison with no walls, no guards, no locked doors. Yet millions of people never escape it. It's called lifestyle inflation. Here's how it works. You get a raise. You feel excited. Finally, life is getting better. A few weeks later, you move into a bigger house. You upgrade your car. You buy a better phone. You eat at nicer restaurants. Nothing seems wrong. After all, you earned it. But then something strange happens. A year later, you get another raise. And somehow, you still don't feel wealthy. Why? Because every increase in income was matched by an increase in spending. Your lifestyle grew, your freedom didn't. Now imagine another person. They also get a raise, but instead of upgrading their lifestyle, they upgrade their assets. They buy investments, they increase cash flow, they build another income stream. From the outside, their life doesn't change much, but behind the scenes, everything is changing. This is the difference between looking successful and becoming successful. Most people celebrate higher income. Wealthy people celebrate higher ownership, because income can disappear, assets can keep producing. Here's a simple question. If your salary stopped tomorrow, how long could you keep living? A week? A month? A year? Now ask a different question. If your assets kept paying you, would your lifestyle change at all? That's the difference. One depends on working, the other depends on ownership, and ownership creates freedom. This is why wealthy people often delay gratification, not because they hate spending, because they understand timing. They know every dollar has two choices. It can buy pleasure today or freedom tomorrow. Neither choice is automatically wrong, but making the wrong choice again and again can quietly change your future. Psychologists call this delayed gratification. It's the ability to ignore a small reward today for a much bigger reward later. Studies have shown people who develop this habit often perform financially better over time, not because they're smarter, because they're more patient. And patience is one of the greatest financial advantages you can have. Here's something interesting. Most people think wealthy people have stronger self-control. That's not always true. Many simply build better systems. They automate investing. They invest before spending. They remove temptation. They make good decisions easier. That's a lesson anyone can use. You don't need millions of dollars. You need better habits. Because wealth is rarely built in one big moment. It's built through hundreds of small decisions repeated over many years. Now here's the twist. Even if you avoid bad debt, even if you build good habits, there's still one mistake that quietly destroys wealth. And surprisingly, it has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with identity. Because the way you see yourself often determines the way you build wealth. And that's exactly where we're going next.
The identity difference between rich and poor. Now, let's talk about something deeper. Something that has nothing to do with banks, nothing to do with interest rates, and nothing to do with money itself. Identity. Because every financial decision begins with one question. Who do you believe you are? Most people never ask themselves that question, but they answer it every single day. Imagine two people. Both receive the same opportunity. Both have the same income. Both have the same amount of savings. Yet one invests, the other hesitates. Why? It's not intelligence, it's identity. One person thinks, I'm an investor. The other thinks, I'm just trying to survive. Those two beliefs create completely different futures. Psychologists call this identity-based behavior. People naturally act in ways that match the story they tell themselves. If someone believes, I'm terrible with money, they'll often avoid learning about money. If someone believes, I'll never be rich, their brain stops looking for opportunities because it already believes the outcome. Now think about wealthy people. Many of them don't wake up asking, how can I spend more today? They ask, how can I own tomorrow? That's a completely different identity. They see themselves as owners, builders, problem solvers, long-term thinkers. And because of that, their daily decisions begin to change. When they receive extra money, their first thought isn't, what can I buy? It's, what can I build? That one habit compounds over decades. Now, here's something fascinating. The world's wealthiest people don't always make perfect decisions. They make mistakes. They lose money. Some investments fail completely. But failure doesn't change their identity. They don't say, I'm bad with money. They say, that investment didn't work. Notice the difference. They separate themselves from the outcome. That's a powerful psychological advantage. Because when people attach their identity to failure, they stop trying. But when they treat failure as feedback, they keep improving. This is one reason wealthy people recover faster. They don't protect their ego, they protect their learning. Now let's connect this back to debt. Someone with a consumer mindset asks, what can this loan buy me? Someone with an owner mindset asks, what can this loan build? Those are completely different questions. One creates payments, the other creates possibilities. This doesn't mean every loan is smart, far from it. It means every loan should have a purpose, a measurable purpose, one that moves your financial life forward. Because money follows behavior, behavior follows identity, and identity shapes your future. Once you change the way you think, you begin changing the way you decide, and eventually you change the way you live. Now there's one final lesson, a simple framework, one that many successful investors use before making almost any financial decision. It's not complicated, but it can completely change the way you think about debt. And that's exactly where we're going next.
So after everything we've discussed, here's the real difference. Wealthy people don't ask, "Can I get this loan?" They ask, "Should I?" That one word changes everything. Before they borrow a single dollar, many successful investors run through a simple mental checklist. Let's walk through it. Question number 1. Will this debt create income? This is the biggest question of all. If the answer is no, they become very cautious. Because debt that creates income behaves very differently from debt that only creates expenses. Think about it. A rental property may generate rent. A business loan may generate profits. New equipment may increase productivity. Those investments have the potential to pay for themselves. Now compare that to a vacation, or a luxury watch, or an expensive car. Those purchases may create happiness, but they rarely create income, and that's a huge difference. Question number 2. Can I survive if everything goes wrong? This is where most people fail. They only imagine success. Wealthy investors imagine both outcomes. What if interest rates rise? What if the lease leaves? What if business slows down? What if the economy changes? If one bad month destroys the plan, it probably wasn't a good plan. That's why successful investors always leave room to breathe. They prepare before they borrow, not after. Question number 3. Is this an emotional decision? This one is difficult because emotions are convincing. Excitement can feel like confidence. Fear can feel like wisdom. But feelings aren't always facts. That's why wealthy people often wait. They sleep on major decisions. They review the numbers again. Time removes emotion, and clear thinking usually follows. Question number 4. Does this purchase increase my freedom or reduce it? This question is powerful, because real wealth isn't about owning more things, it's about having more choices. If the debt traps you, it's probably a bad deal. If it creates future options, it deserves a closer look. Question number 5. Would you still make this decision if nobody else could see it? Think about that. No friends, no family, no social media, no compliments. Would you still buy it? If the answer changes, the purchase was probably about status, not value. And status is expensive. Wealthy people understand something simple. The market doesn't reward appearances, it rewards productive assets. That's why they focus on results, not recognition. Now here's the biggest lesson. Debt is neither good nor bad, it's simply an amplifier. If your decision is smart, debt can amplify success. If your decision is poor, debt can amplify mistakes. That's why psychology matters more than interest rates. Because long before you sign any loan, you've already made the real decision inside your mind. And that brings us to the final lesson. The lesson that ties everything together. Because this video was never really about debt, it was always about the way you think. And that's exactly where true wealth begins. So after everything we've discussed, Here's the real difference. Wealthy people don't ask, "Can I get this loan?" They ask, "Should I?" That one word changes everything. Before they borrow a single dollar, many successful investors run through a simple mental checklist. Let's walk through it. Question number 1. Will this debt create income? This is the biggest question of all. If the answer is no, they become very cautious. Because debt that creates income behaves very differently from debt that only creates expenses. Think about it. A rental property may generate rent. A business loan may generate profits. New equipment may increase productivity. Those investments have the potential to pay for themselves. Now compare that to a vacation, or a luxury watch, or an expensive car. Those purchases may create happiness, but they rarely create income, and that's a huge difference. Question number 2. Can I survive if everything goes wrong? This is where most people fail. They only imagine success. Wealthy investors imagine both outcomes. What if interest rates rise? What if the lease leaves? What if business slows down? What if the economy changes? If one bad month destroys the plan, it probably wasn't a good plan. That's why successful investors always leave room to breathe. They prepare before they borrow, not after. Question number 3. Is this an emotional decision? This one is difficult because emotions are convincing. Excitement can feel like confidence. Fear can feel like wisdom. But feelings aren't always facts. That's why wealthy people often wait. They sleep on major decisions. They review the numbers again. Time removes emotion, and clear thinking usually follows. Question number 4. Does this purchase increase my freedom or reduce it? This question is powerful because real wealth isn't about owning more things, it's about having more choices. If the debt traps you, it's probably a bad deal. If it creates future options, it deserves a closer look. Question number 5. Would you still make this decision if nobody else could see it? Think about that. No friends, no family, no social media, no compliments. Would you still buy it? If the answer changes, the purchase was probably about status, not value. And status is expensive. Wealthy people understand something simple. The market doesn't reward appearances, it rewards productive assets. That's why they focus on results, not recognition. Now here's the biggest lesson. Debt is neither good nor bad, it's simply an amplifier. If your decision is smart, debt can amplify success. If your decision is poor, debt can amplify mistakes. That's why psychology matters more than interest rates. Because long before you sign any loan, you've already made the real decision inside your mind. And that brings us to the final lesson, the lesson that ties everything together. Because this video was never really about debt, it was always about the way you think. And that's exactly where true wealth begins.